Welcome back. This is Kevin Johnson of Leverage Consulting, and this is another episode of the Organizational Excellence Podcast. So today, I've got an awesome topic for you, a topic that should hit home for many of you. And that topic is tough decisions. Interestingly enough, we've seen quite a few examples of this week. Many of us, Carolina Panthers fans or anyone who follows NFL football, has seen another interesting example of this week, and that is the termination of Ron Rivera. And this is something that I believe is a good example and analogy for many of you with your own business and practice. And it gets down to making those tough decisions. And it's not the tough decision that Ron Rivera has to make, but the one that David Tepper's made by removing Ron Rivera as the coach. And what I've found somewhat interesting is watching all the responses going on to Ron Rivera's termination. And those responses really, I think, can be lumped into two completely separate categories. One that has to do with just the results of the Carolina Panthers, and the other to do with Ron Rivera as an individual. And again, I think there's a really good parallel for your given businesses and practices. So on one side of the coin, I think a lot of people, again, are looking at the results of the Carolina Panthers. And I pulled up the results from the last couple of years, and I'm going to read some of these off to you. So in 2015, I think that would be the highlight in somewhat recent history. It actually probably marks the decline of the Panthers too. But in 2015, their record was 15-1. In 2016, they went 6-10. They were 11-5 in 2017. In 2018, they were 7-9, and so far this year, they're 5-7. Not so spectacular. We have to remember that the Carolina Panthers is a business. They're a business that generates revenue. They're a business that generates revenue when it comes to ticket sales, when it comes to paraphernalia sales, food and vendor sales. I can go on and on and on. By their success and the show that they put on, all of that influences, again, the entire scope of business that we would call the Carolina Panthers. And how well that team does is going to drive everything else. So, again, the results have not been there. If we go to the other side of the coin and look at how people have looked at this from the personal side of things, I think most everyone says Ron Rivera is a good guy. He's a great guy. Shelley and I have a lot of appreciation for him because he just seems like a very down-to-earth guy who carries himself well, well-spoken, even-tempered. And then on a personal note, he's involved in charities and dog rescues and things like that. So on a personal level, I mean, who wouldn't want to spend time with Ron Rivera? He's a great guy. Problem is the results aren't there. And that's where I find many businesses and practices have a difficult time making decisions because it's not so clear. This is really what defines a difficult decision. It's a tough decision because as an individual, we like the person, but we don't find that the results are there. Sometimes it's because of chemistry. And I think, I have my own viewpoints and opinions on some of this, but I believe if Ron had made some other tough decisions a while back, he may still be with the Panthers because I believe that a lot of their seasons and results would be different had he made some other decisions in the past. But that goes to a viewpoint of looking at Ron Rivera because he is literally the number one influencer in that team to get that team either in the championship or into the Super Bowl. So we have to look at how he leads the team, influences the team, and if, again, the results aren't there, then we need to make a change. Because otherwise, we have to either learn to live with the lack of results, or again, we're put in a position of let's make a change to where we get the result that we're actually looking for. It's not tough, but what this does lead us to is the fact that someone has to step up and make a decision and act like a leader. These are the times that define leaders. David Tepper may not be super popular right now because he removed someone that a lot of people really did like and love. However, in the long run, David Tepper will be respected for the fact that he made this decision and he made an adjustment to his team, which in the end will put them in a position to have different and better results down the road. The way it was going, it was not happening. Ron Rivera was not getting the results. So many of you are going to be put in positions at times with your own practice, your own business, and you have to make decisions with people that may or may not be getting you your results. It may be an inspector or a lab. It may be an employee. It may be someone on your team. It may be someone on your external team, like an implant rep, someone who just doesn't help you get the result that you're looking for. And again, all of this comes to a head when someone steps up, acts like a leader, and lives by the decision that they made. And again, David Tepper is probably going to take a little heat and a little bit of flack for this, but in the long run, he'll be respected for it. And you can look at the comments and look at the opinions that people have about Ron Rivera's removal. And when you listen and read some of the comments that are being made, many of them leading up to it were really heated comments that were calling for his termination. But now that he's been terminated, there are comments and things that talk about him more as an individual and sad to see him go and things like that. So even afterwards, it may make one think, did I make a bad decision? But the leader, when they step up, if we're confident in our decision and live by it, people will tend to start to adjust their own perceptions of things. And I think a lot of times it's just the personal side of things that we don't like seeing bad things happen to good people. But in the end, if we allow someone to flounder in a position where they're not doing well, we're not doing them any favors there either. So that, my friends, is your Organizational Excellence podcast for the day. I will bring another great one for you next week.